September is a busy seed planting month in Florida. Since September is the month that we are transitioning into fall, we can plant warm season summer vegetables at the beginning of the month, and then can start planting cool season fall vegetables at the end of the month. This planting schedule is based on the recommendations for Central Florida from the University of Florida and also from a book called The Edible Landscape by Tom McCubbin. If you are in North Florida, you may need to plant a week or two earlier, and if you're in South Florida, then you may need to plant a week or two later. For many Floridians, September is the end of the planting window for most warm season crops. This is because we want to get as many harvests as we can from our warm season crops before we get our first frost or freeze, which is potentially in late December in my area. When deciding how late to plant your warm season vegetables, it helps to know your first average frost date so you can plan accordingly. I'll put a link in the description to where you can find the first average frost date for your region. I typically try to have my warm season seeds started during the first half of September, though I know there are some experienced gardeners who like to wait a little longer until the weather cools down enough to reduce the insect pressure. The main warm season crops to start in September are beans, cucumbers, eggplant, peppers, squash, and tomatoes. Cool season crops can be started in September, but September is usually still very hot and buggy, so I wait until late September to start my cool season crops, and I start most of them indoors to transplant outdoors in October. Lettuce in particular does not germinate very well in the heat, so it is especially important to start lettuce seeds either indoors or in a slightly shady, cooler location outdoors. Some people like to experiment and see how early in the season they can get their cool season vegetables to germinate outdoors. But I have also heard from several experienced gardeners that they prefer to wait until October, when the temperatures are cooler, to plant cool season crops outside. Keep in mind that there is no rush to get cool season crops started because they can grow happily all winter long in Florida, and they can be planted continuously throughout the fall and winter. Cool season crops that can be started in September include arugula, beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, collards, endive, kale, lettuce, mustard, onions, radish, spinach, Swiss chard, and turnips. There are also plenty of herbs that can be grown in the fall. Some common herbs that can be started from seed in September include basil, cilantro, chives, dill, fennel, lemon balm, sage, and thyme. One last thing I'll mention is that if you're growing seedlings in September, keep in mind that the month of September is still a very active month for tropical storms and torrential rains, which can tear up your fragile baby plants. So it would be wise to keep your seedlings in a location that is somewhat protected from heavy rain, or else keep them in containers that are easily moved to shelter during a storm. This is one of the reasons that I start a lot of my seeds indoors to transplant when they get stronger. Check the description below the video for links to some additional resources. Happy gardening!